Hey yo! Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review. And today we're going to be doing Final Crisis. Now, opinion, a story, a book, a comic could have no plot, have nothing special to it whatsoever, and be loved by people. On the same time, a story can have a fantastic plot, be very well written, and be very smart, and be disliked by so many people. Final Crisis is a book that you either like a lot or you dislike a lot. Now, a lot of people dislike this book because they didn't care for the plot, or they found the story to be confusing, or they just didn't like Grant Morrison's handle in the DC Universe. I'm going to tell you up front, here and now, at the beginning of this review, right now, I absolutely loved Final Crisis. I adored it. I thought it was amazing. But, hear me out. Just because I like Final Crisis doesn't mean you have to. It's not my job as a reviewer to force my opinions on you, or to make you think anything different from what you already think. I'm just here to tell you on whether or not the thing is good or bad, not on whether or not you should like it. So, while I may love Final Crisis, I know there's a bunch of people out there that will dislike it, and I'm okay with that. As long as I enjoy it, that's all that matters to me. And if you enjoy it, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. However, in this review, I am going to give you the good points and the bad points. Just because I like Final Crisis doesn't mean it's not without faults. It does have its faults in there. Quite a few. And I will be explaining that. So in this review, I will give you a basic story of Final Crisis. An easy to understand story. Because I actually found the story to be very clear and very easy to follow. But then again, I did read it in hardcover. I didn't read it in individual issues, and I can probably see how the individual issues could be kind of confusing. So I will be giving you a full plot summary, up until the last issue, where I'm going to cut you off there. Then I will give you the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Okay? So with that said, let's get on to the main story. Now, the story starts off with Dan Turnip finding the body of Orion. Now, Orion was killed by a bullet that has a toxic in it that's fatal to the New Gods. His body is then sent to JLA headquarters, where it is examined by Batman, who removes the bullet and keeps it for himself. Now, the Alpha Lanterns show up. If you don't know who the Alpha Lanterns are, these are the top Green Lanterns right under the Guardians. And one of them shows up to take over the investigation away from Batman. Now, this thoroughly pisses off Batman, but he kind of just has to go with it. And right away, the Alpha Lantern accuses Hal Jordan as the person that shot Orion with this bullet. Hal Jordan agrees to be taken away so he can clear his name. And Earth is sealed out so no one can enter or leave Earth's atmosphere. Now, at this point, at this time, Dan Turnip is searching for a bunch of missing kids. He goes to the Dark Side Club. It's a nightclub. And we find out that Darkseid, who has possessed a human body, is there. And he then forces his spirit, his soul, onto Dan Turnip's body. Dan Turnip kind of goes wandering around, and eventually is picked up by Darkseid's minions, the other New Gods, or the Dark Gods, who have possessed other human bodies. Now you gotta remember, the New Gods are basically dying here. Every time they enter a new body, well, the body basically dies away and rots away, and they have to take a new body to survive. Going back to JLA, we find out that the Alpha Lantern is not who we see, and they attack Batman right away. We find out that this Alpha Lantern is actually Granny Goodness, possessing her new body. She steals Batman and brings him to Darkseid's headquarters. There, Dan Turnip is slowly possessed by Darkseid, becoming corrupt, and Batman is hooked up into a machine that is used to take away his personality and use it to create a clone army for Darkseid. Now, two things happen while this is going on. The first thing is that the Daily Planet is attacked by Clayface, who sets up a bomb that causes everyone in the building to either get killed or injured. And Lois Lane is really on the verge of death. Superman's heat vision is the only thing keeping her alive. Superman makes a deal with one of the monitors. If he can do her task, she would be willing to save Lois Lane's life. Superman then embarks on the Superman Beyond story. Now this is a very heavy story, and it's very complicated. all you really need to know about this is Superman goes to various different points of reality, mainly Limbo. Yes, Limbo. A reality that Grant Morrison sets out for lost characters in comic books. In addition to, Superman also goes to the future at one point and finds out about the Miracle Machine from Brainiac 5. Now, this is actually a big point in the story that you should know, but I'm going to leave it there and deal with it later on in this review. The second big point that happens on is the return of Barry Allen. Now, Barry Allen somehow is running through time, trying to stop the bullet that is used to kill Orion. He is joined up by Wally West, the other Flash. Now, they start running so fast that they actually go into the future, not many years, but actually 2 weeks into the future, around that time. And this is a future where evil has won. Thus the title of Final Crisis, The Day Evil Has Won. We find out that Darkseid has activated the anti-life equation. Now, this equation is used to possess the bodies of everyone that's been exposed to it and become the mindless souls and bodies to Darkseid. He literally controls these servants. Now, he used the anti-life equation over the internet, TV, music, everything. And very few people have been unaffected by it. The JLA has been taken down, and so has the JSA. There's only a few members still around. Wonder Woman has been taken over by this anti-life equation and is now one of Darkseid's furies. Superman is currently off dealing with the Superman Beyond story, and Batman has been taken captive and being used to create a mass army. So the Justice League of America is now being run by Black Canary and the Green Arrow. And even them, they're not safe. They're being attacked left and right. There's not many Justice League or Justice Society members left. So the whole entire superhero community decides to take one more stab at taking down Darkseid. A bunch of superheroes, led by Supergirl, along with Captain Marvel, Black Adam, Red Arrow, John Stewart, and many other superheroes, go to attack Darkseid's stronghold. But they are stopped by the crazed and maniacal Mary Marvel, who has been turned evil. And by God, a big fight erupts. The climactic bitch fest between Supergirl and Mary Marvel. And oh my God, this is a great fight scene. This is outright one of the best fight scenes that there is in this story. Now, while this is happening, Batman somehow gets out of the machine that he's hooked up to and confronts Darkseid. He has a gun which has the bullet that killed Orion, and he says to Darkseid that I made a solemn vow never to use firearms, but for you, Darkseid, the greatest evil of all, I will make an exception to this rule. Batman realizes that if Darkseid lives, then the world is basically fucked. So Batman shoots the bullet and mortally wounds Darkseid. Darkseid is now intoxicated with the poison. In addition to that, Darkseid shoots out the Omega Sanction, which is the life that is death. It hits Batman, sending Batman's soul on a roller coaster ride of crappy lives one after the other, and destroying his body. Now, while all this is happening, Superman finds a way back to the past and confronts Darkseid, using his heat vision to break through the barriers in Darkseid's headquarters, and finds Batman's dead body. Now, this leads up to the last issue, and I don't want to get into the last issue that much. All you need to know is that the Miracle Machine is built by Batman and Superman and plays a major part in this story. Now, that is the basic story of Final Crisis in and of itself. A lot of other stuff happens, but that's a basic story, and it's very clear and it's very clear cut if you read it all the way through, rather than individual issues. With that said, let's get on to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should pick up this bad boy. Now, like I said, I love Final Crisis. There's a lot of good to this book, but it's not without its faults. So let's get into it. The first good thing is that Final Crisis is an incredibly smart, incredibly in-depth, and layered story, which has a lot of representations, metaphors, and hidden meanings in it. Now, I can't go over all the hidden meanings in here because it would just take too much time. However, some of them is like Batman using a gun to defeat Darkseid. How life for Batman has come full circle. His life as Batman started with a gun in the alley, and now he's confronting the ultimate evil which created him, and facing it with a gun. Granted, Darkseid did not, kill Batman's parents, but it's the evil Darkseid represents that created the Batman. Excellent, excellent representation. how Darkseid is represented as the epitome of evil, a dying god, the devil himself. The closer you get to him, the more you realize shit is going down and stuff is going to hell. Excellent representation. And Superman, being the ultimate champion, always being there to save the day. Great representation of Superman. The beginning of man in this story, and how he created fire, and then how it comes full circle to the death of the first man, with Batman there. Great representation. Now, like I said, there's a lot of hidden meaning, a lot of depth, and a lot of layers to this story. So, if you really want to realize and figure out what those things are, I suggest you read one of the interviews Grant Morrison does. I can't do it all in this video. It would just take too long. But it's an incredibly smart story in that way. Now, another thing is that, it has a very epic, apocalyptic feel to it. You know, evil won the day. And as much as people want to say, well, the good guys won in the end. No, there was no victory for the good guys. A lot of people died, a lot of people lost. They survived, but they didn't win. There was no victory for the heroes here. Evil won the day for the majority of this book. The colors, the writing, everything gives you that dark, shivering kind of tone when you read this book. It has a very evil, apocalyptic feel, which is very nice. It may not have such an epic feel as the Crisis of Infinite Earth, but it does have a very dark feel to it. Now, there are a few bads to this too. For example, the Superman Beyond story. Excellent story, but it's very, very in-depth, and it's kind of a head trip by Grant Morrison. So if you're going to read it, you better be ready, and you better do it when you have your full attention to it. The last issue of this story, although the story, I believe, was very clean and very clear, the last issue of the story was done in a way that was very confusing. Now, I applaud Grant Morrison for trying different writing styles, but he did not succeed here. For example, he should not have done this during Final Crisis. You had a very clear, apocalyptic story, and then you have this very confusing ending, which really, I think, upsetted people, and it did bother me. If Grant Morrison did this in an Elsewhere story, or did it in a side story, we would probably say, oh, this is interesting, this is new, I like this. But doing it in Final Crisis was probably not the smartest move. Now, the art in this is meh. Some art is good, and some art is just, well, it's just not impressive, and I would have expected a little bit more on this. It would have been nice if they brought George Perez back for this, but they don't. I'm not saying the art is bad, it's just not that impressive. But those aren't really the only big faults I have for this. Now, I think that this story is absolutely beautiful. It's an incredibly smart story. It has a lot of layers, a lot of depth, and it really has a great feeling to it. But like I said in the very beginning of this is just my opinion. I'm not here to make you like something that you don't like. If you don't like Final Crisis, that's okay. I can understand that there will be people out there that will not enjoy this. But there will also be people out there that will enjoy this. If you're a person that really likes in-depth, smart reading that has a lot of layers to the book, then you're going to love this story. However, if you don't want to have too complicated of a story, you want more of a traditional comic book, which is pretty clear-cut and straight to the point, then you may not like Final Crisis. I would recommend people to pick it up and at least read it, and give it a chance, but there is one problem with it. At a price tag of $29.99, that's a big steep for a lot of people. So, if you get a chance to get your hands on this, and you're skeptic of it, read it. Give it a chance. Enjoy it. Now, if you're someone that wants that in-depth reading that has the really smart tone to it, that has a lot of layers and a lot of complicatedness to it, then you will want to pick this up. I do recommend it. Like I said, opinions. Everyone has one, and we don't have to always agree. If you don't like this, cool. But if you loved it like I do, then pick it up. It is a great book. It really is, and I suggest you give it a chance. With that said, this is Andrew saying, peace out for now.